Sam Laidlow, first ever T100 World Tour victory on home soil too, or home-ish soil. How does it feel?
Feels bloody good, mate. Feels bloody good. I wasn't expecting that, yeah, for sure.
A minute 30 lead into T2. Talk to me about your bike ride.
Yeah, so I guess I made the decision to try and not swim with a wetsuit and see how that affected my bike, because last few rides I've done after a wetsuit swim have been just nowhere near what I've been doing in training. So I took that risk, and immediately I just got on the bike and saw that my heart rate was relatively low and my legs felt good and it kept giving. And then kind of there was a lot of uncertainty around my calf, so the tactics we'd put into place were just to go very hard, and worst case scenario, kind of I get a good bike session in and have no regrets. So I wasn't really riding with that win in my head, I was just riding hard, and then I got onto the run, and again I started out with a mentality to kind of see where it could get me, if it get me a top 5, and that's still much better than what I've done so far this year. And then as the kind of laps went on, I still had energy, and I knew that Kyle would set out very fast because I watched Sam Fran from the sides, so I was kind of expecting that. And equally, kind of, as I said, I went into it with that mentality of even being happy with 5th place, so kind of everything was a positive during the race.
I'm going to talk about the run battle, but before that, on the bike, you went to the front, Fred Funk was second, and he said he tried to go with you when you made your move. He didn't say it was a big surge, he said it was just a strong, consistent surge. He looked down at his power meter while you were sort of 10 seconds up the road, and he was holding just a bit over 400 watts, and he was like, wow, what can I do when he's riding like this? How much power were you pushing at that point?
Yeah, so I averaged just under 370, 368 or something, and a normalised of almost 390. But this course is really, I was speaking to the girls yesterday, and they all had much lower power than what they normally would, because there's so many kind of speed lumps and potholes and stuff, turnarounds, quite sketchy turnarounds. So yeah, as I said, I think, I don't know, this is the first time I got really fit leaning into the Ironman I did two weeks ago, and I just had a bad day. I kind of got around it, felt very flat, and then we were like, okay, well, we're going to do a lot of intensity now, and it's very rare for me to do that kind of stuff. Like, I very rarely do any sort of efforts over LT2, so we did a lot of that, and very little volume. So you were asking me the other day what my CTL was at breakfast, and it's probably on the lower side of the 20 athletes here, but I just had really, really good legs. I felt really fresh, and I think now we're noticing with so much racing over the whole season that kind of you have good days and you have bad days, similar to how it is in cycling. Nobody's winning every race, and it's good to see.
Everyone's been talking about how their power was low on the course. Me and you just had a conversation with Magnus Ditlev, and he said that he averaged 15 watts less on today's bike than he did at Challenge Roth. That's pretty crazy that you then held 390 normalised power, considering how low everyone else's was.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I'm as surprised as you are. To be honest, I've never managed to do either a PTO race or a half Ironman, kind of anything above what I do already in Ironman. That was really what was limiting me, even though in training and stuff, like, my threshold showed that I could do that, but I just haven't been able to put it together. So I managed to obviously have a very strong bike, and then the run, I guess, to have, when I realised it was kind of possible, I think it was really the emotions that got me to that finish line in first place.
The run, Kyle Smith has been running as well as anyone in the world right now over this distance, and coming into the race, I think he was talked about as the favourite because no one really saw anyone being able to go with him on the run.
Yeah.
About 8 kilometres in with 10 kilometres to go, he was up to 30 seconds. He'd started a minute 30 back, and then that gap never really moved. It got down to 21 seconds at one point, but for 10K you held it at between 30 and 20 seconds.
Yeah, again, I watched Sam Fran, and I kind of noticed that they went really hard on the start of the run, and then it seemed like they eased off because the gap to the rest of the runners stayed the same. But to be honest, I was just doing my race, and if Carl would have beat me, I would have been chuffed for him, and so I think it won't be long before he wins one of these races, because I can't promise having them kind of legs every day.
Everyone talks about you in the same way, that you get it right at the Ironman World Championships. I think people have already penciled you in for winning that this year, but that when it comes to the rest of the season, you're a bit inconsistent. you blow up a lot, and I think there has been real doubts about your ability to put in a performance like you did today. Do you feel that, and does it mean anything to you to finally win a race this big outside of the Ironman World Championships?
Yeah, I mean, when I came across the finish line, the first thing I said, was that I needed that one. Like, mentally, I really needed it, because it's been a tough start to the season, and when you're a pro athlete, you very quickly start doubting what you've been doing, you know. So wondering if you're still at the level, or if the level's increased, or if you're with the right coach, doing the right training, etc., etc. So yeah, this kind of result obviously puts all that to bed. But yeah, I still think that's just part of me and my career. You know, I think I'm always someone who wants to push it to the limit, and see where that gets me. You know, I'm not going to race and try and come fifth. You know, I mean, I could have sat in that pack today and not risked it. You know, but I would have rather tried to win and come and blow up and come 12th. You know, that's just who I am, and I'll continue to race like that. You know, and I think somebody who's similar is someone like Alistair. You know, he's always raced like that his whole career, and it's got him 2 Olympic golds. So yeah, it's not too bad.
Speaking of that breakfast that me and you had the other day, you said something really interesting. Last year, you peaked very early in the season at Gran Canaria, and then you said that you felt like for the rest of the year, your fitness and training was sort of on a downward trajectory, and you managed to get it up a little bit before the Ironman World Championships and win. And you said that this year, you feel like it's the complete opposite, and from Miami at the start of the year, it's been on this trajectory. Does that mean that there's still plenty more for you to come at the back end of this year?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, when I won last year, I really felt like I was nowhere near where I'd been at the start of the season in terms of numbers. So that's where kind of that catchphrase, which was only just getting started. And I still feel that, you know, I'm 25. So yeah, and we've also, the way we've worked with my dad is that we've always left ourselves room for improvement. You know, I'm not training as much as some of the athletes, and maybe that also explains the inconsistency. The goal is to have a long career, and to do that, I also need some downtime, you know, and to maybe some races just accept that I'm not the best in the world. So yeah, that's the strategy.
One more question from me. You talked about it on the broadcast coverage that you and Sam Long had a bit of a history 3 years ago at the Collins Cup, and then today Kyle Smith got to 20 seconds behind you, and then you tagged onto the back of Sam Long, and he smacked his hip and said, "Sit on me," and you ran behind him for about a kilometre after that and picked up the pace, and you actually took the gap to Kyle back out to almost 30 seconds from that. Can you talk to me a little bit about that moment, and did it mean anything to you at the time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you just said, I think it's been good to see how we've evolved. You know, I think we've both matured, both as athletes and as humans. He's obviously a dad now, and yeah, he's fast forwarded a bit more than me. I don't think I'm a dad. But yeah, you lost your microphone.
You can't say that.
Of course I can say that. And yeah, so cut. So no, yeah, Sam is. I mean, I've really grown to respect him more and more. You know, before I respected him as an athlete, and it was just a bit of banter. Now I think he's not just an incredible athlete, but also a great guy. And yeah, I think the way he raced today showed that, like, even on his bad days, for him to kind of get through it and run as fast as he did, that's something that I've been incapable to do so far. You know, so yeah, I admire that.
Sam Laidlow, T100 London champion. Good
Thanks,
shit.
Mate.